The suspension is finally in and it is so good. It finally happened, boys. It finally happened. The suspension is finally in. The coilovers, to be more exact. So just a little background on this particular set. So AST is based out of the Netherlands. They're better known in Europe. Okay, now what most people probably don't know is AST is basically Moton. Moton is one of the original manufacturers that get into motorsports, marrying the idea of street performance with motorsports, if you will. I mean, Moton is deep into motorsports. So is AST, but they have been making suspension for street cars and taking all of their knowledge on the motorsports side to build these kits. Now, this is the first of its kind in the US for the FL5 Type R. Okay. This is not the FK8 suspension that they're just coyly throwing onto an FL5 like some other companies do. I'm not going to name any names. You guys probably by now, if you've been looking at suspension, might already know who I'm talking about. But that's not what was done here, okay? This exact car, my car, the stock suspension was taken off of the car, shipped to the Netherlands, where they analyzed every bit of that stock suspension. They put on a shock dyno, they measured everything, stroke, spring rates, you know, how it handles their simulated tracks on their shock dynos, etc., etc., etc. Every little nuance and detail was taken into consideration before they started designing this. And I'm going to open this up and we'll discuss the differences between, you know, what a regular FK8 AST suspension would be like and what the differences are here for this particular kit. So let's get to the unboxing. There's something about opening new suspension for the first time I just absolutely love. Look at, I mean, they so overpackage these things. Okay, that's all one piece, okay. Lots of bubble wrap. Oh. This kit is not, as of this video, this kit is not yet available. Okay, it will be available on the Doteki Auto Solutions website. In fact, Doteki and AST are really the reason why this suspension even exists. AST Moton is a company that helped us develop the suspension for the A90 Supra, which is also going to be on my car, my Supra. It's a suspension that was on the 25-hour of Thunder Hill car, Rich's car, the Doteki car. And because of that collaboration, this suspension is coming to fruition. So I want to show you guys something because it's relative, okay? Check out this part number. This is a different part number than the AST suspension for the FK8. It's not the same. And again, once we get everything unboxed, we'll go over the nuances and the differences here. But here's the front. Oh, look how, dude, those things are massive. So top hats are included.
Everything from AST that we're gonna do is gonna be motorsport top hat, everything spherical top hat and lowers.
Okay.
Will be spherical and will be, they're all constructed out of 70-75, so.
Well, there you go. You got it out of the horse's mouth directly. Yeah, we don't, there's no half-assing things around here. You know, it's like you either do it right and it takes a little longer to do it right, or you just don't do it. And that's kind of the whole point of all of this. If you want to half-ass it, there's plenty of off-the-shelf parts you can buy. All right, here's the suspension all laid out. So factory spring rates are 4.7 K in the front, 4.2 in the rear for factory. These, at least for now, these are starting at 8K rear, 10K front. So more than, or just about double what the factory spring rates are. But again, I can't emphasize this enough. Spring rates are definitely important. But when it comes to ride quality, it's not just about spring rates. The dampening is what the secret sauce is in these guys here. Anybody can produce a shock body and throw a spring on it, and then you got your eBay coilovers, okay? There's a lot more that goes into these things than just filling a shock body with some oil and throwing a spring on it, okay? These are not $200 coilovers. So the technology and really the magic in these is gonna be about the valving. Okay, that's really what separates something like this versus a more street enthusiast level suspension. It is so, this is such a sick setup, guys. I can't even explain it to you. I've had very high-end suspension in my cars before. I'm no stranger to that. I've had Öhlins, which was great. I've had JRZ. Just a little driving that I've done on my FL5 so far. I don't want to spoil it because we're going to go for a drive here in a little bit. But it is just complete night and day difference. Complete night and day difference. Is not the same. Not the same at all. And it is, I mean, let's be honest here, okay? The kit, let me tell you about the cost of the kit, okay? The cost of the kit is from Doteki. This is a Doteki Spec AST Moton kit for the FL5 Type R, okay? And I'll show you some of the things. I have the wheels off of the car. I'm going to show you some of the things that will come with the kit. It's in development right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to help develop some of these things so the market can have it, you guys can have it, track enthusiasts can have it. I'm putting in the work. So, well, for myself too. Obviously, I want the better lap times, but I'm trying to, with Doteki, do the right thing. Build a proper kit with proper measurements, proper harmonics, proper suspension geometry, and not just build some coilovers, throw it on a shock dyno, okay, looks good enough, and then throw it in the car. Now, all that stuff is great, and that's definitely some of the things that AST Moton does, but we take it a step further. You know, we absolutely take it a step further. So one thing I'll note, and I kind of alluded to this in the unboxing, this is a different part number. There is FK8 AST Moton suspension 5200s available, okay? That will bolt on to the FL5. It's not the same kit. It's not the same kit, okay? Stop putting FK8 coilovers in your FL5, for God's sakes, please stop, okay? It is not the same. The rear end is completely different in the FL5, okay? On the AST Moton for the Doteki Auto Solutions kit, what has changed? Mostly the rear. The front has changed as well, but mostly the rear. So the stroke got longer. The spring got a little bit longer. The shock body actually shortened a bit, but the stroke is still longer than what's available out there, and definitely longer than factory. It's a true coilover, okay? And it's not on the car right now, but it will come with reinforcement plates for the tower, the top part of the strut, where that bolts into the chassis. There will be reinforcement plates that come with the Doteki kit, okay? That's relevant because I'm going to show you guys why that is massively important, okay? This is something that never gets talked about. And just to put it in short, the Japanese are like way ahead of the game as far as like grassroots motorsports is concerned. It's really tough to call it grassroots in Japan because they're so extreme with everything that they do. They're such perfectionists that everything looks like it's you know, it's a multi-million-dollar race team, even if it isn't, because they're just so detail-oriented. Anyways, I'm blabbering here, but what I will show you underneath the tower cap and where this could potentially be a problem, even on your FK8, is the FK8 and the FL5 was not designed originally to have a true coilover rear suspension. If you'll notice, the factory suspension is divorced, okay? That's fine. You know, divorced suspension is okay. I don't know that I'd say there's any additional benefits to having divorced other than cost, because you know, your chassis doesn't need to be as strong in some areas. Packaging can be a little bit different. You can fit some other things differently with divorce versus true coilover. Blah 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 blah. I digress. But the point being is, it wasn't designed to have a true coilover rear setup. Okay. This is a true coilover, and because of that, there's a lot more force going into the top of the strut than there otherwise would be. That's the same for the FK8. Now in Japan, what they do is they spot weld and reinforce the top of the strut tower, okay, where the shock bolts in. A lot of teams do, okay? I can't say everybody because I don't know everybody in Japan, and I don't know everybody that's modding their Type R in Japan, but my point is they notice these things, and they take the steps to make sure that it's not a disastrous situation, okay? Why do you want to reinforce the top of the strut where the coilover bolts in? Well, simple. When you're putting that much force through metal that isn't as thick or reinforced as it would otherwise be if it were designed to have a true coilover, if you hit a bump or if you land hard enough, you know, like Thunderhill bypass, for example, you kind of come over, you catch a little bit of air, and the car kind of like slams, the suspension slams on the ground as you come down the other side. Or it should be if you're going fast enough, if you know what I'm saying, right? If you're going balls out, you should be kind of like landing kind of hard after the bypass, which I absolutely do. My suspension slams every single time. So when it does that, That's a crazy amount of force going through that one piece. And because of the way the FL5 and the FK8 are designed, it's just spot welded. Not thinner metal. It's not thin metal, but it's not thick enough for those forces. Okay, so if it hits hard enough, it could just jettison the top of the strut right through the chassis. 718 Porsche GT4 owners might know what I'm talking about. Okay, there's a few, just kind of shocking because this is Porsche we're talking about. But there's a few GT4 Porsches, 718 GT4 Porsches out there that have had struts in the front just blow through the top of the strut mount. And that's what I don't want to happen, okay? That's what I don't want to happen. So wheels are off. Let me show you what it looks like. All right, here we go. Wheels are off, and there is the new AST Moton 5200 coilover. Now, what's nice about these, this is a two-way adjustable, 12 clicks of rebound, 12 clicks of compression, low speed adjustment. It's a two-way. You can upgrade these to the 5300, which will be a three-way. You'll see when I have it on the ground here, but to maintain proper suspension geometry, it is only about 5 millimeters lower than full stock. Okay, so it's not meant to slam the car. It's not for looks. This is all for performance. Suspension geometry is something you're going to hear me talk about more and more, but especially when you get into the heavier aero on the car, you want to maintain proper suspension geometry. Otherwise, people focus too much on center of gravity, okay? And they think that's like the answer to making your car handle better. What you don't realize is okay, so if this is the control arm, this is going to be a really crude explanation. I should draw this on some paper or something, but if this is your control arm attached to the subframe, okay, it articulates up and down depending on what the suspension is doing, right? You follow me so far? Okay, so it should be as straight as possible, because then the lateral forces, when you're cornering, this will stay relatively rigid if it's flat like this, and there will be less roll in the car. If there's less roll in the car, there's less weight transferring to places where you don't want it, and you won't overwhelm the tires as quickly. If there's more roll, so the suspension arm is like this, and then you get more roll, so it gets more vertical, okay? Because your car is too low. Let's say your car is too low, now the suspension arm is like this, and as you corner, it folds in, okay? That means the car is rolling more, okay? When a car rolls more, that means there's more weight than you want on the outside tires of the car, and you can overwhelm the grip quicker. Super crude explanation. I hope you guys got that, and if you have any questions, any clarification you need, I'm happy to answer that in the comments below as best as I can, okay? I'm kind of learning a lot of this stuff as I'm going along as well. But anyways, my point being, if your car is too low, it's not good. You're going to get more roll than you need. So to maintain proper suspension geometry, especially in this setup, and you'll notice it with Öhlins and even JRZ, you don't really lower actually you can't even lower the Öhlins that far, and that's by design. It's all to maintain suspension geometry. So the better suspensions out there follow the same philosophy. I could go on and on. You know, this should almost be another video explaining suspension dynamics and chassis harmonics and all this stuff. Okay, now again, this is all still in development, okay? Here's the top of the strut. These are the camber plates. They will come with the kit. So if you'll notice, it's really tough. You can get to it, but it's kind of tight, okay? The adjustment Allen bolts for the camber, You can get to them, but it's really tight to get to them. And they're incremental. Okay, so you can move the bolts around. You can put them in a different spot to make getting to the bolts a little bit easier. So it's not too bad. You can position them in different spots and make it easier. But that's what it looks like. Okay, and right now we don't have a mounting solution. So as of right now, the remote reservoir is just crudely zip tied to the strut bar. We are going to have a mounting solution that will work with this particular strut bar. Okay, PRL makes a great strut bar. It's aesthetically nice. It's a nice shape. You know, it works well. So we'll make some mounts for this. Comes with the camber plates. Okay, there's a remote reservoir. That's the front shock. So the main difference with the front shock on the FL5 is the top hat. The top hat is what's mainly different. Otherwise, the front shock is mostly the same as the FK8. Now, if you go back here is the rear setup. Wow, can't, unfortunately, with all the shrouding, I don't think we're going to be able to see. Yeah, maybe get a flashlight, see if we can see here. Yeah, it's really tough. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. But anyways, the top of that strut is, it's kind of like a cap that's just spot welded in place from the factory. And that's kind of what I was trying to explain earlier, is that's not a strong enough setup for a true coilover if you're really going balls out and pushing the car on track. So we will have a proper reinforcement kit that comes with the coilovers, so you can properly reinforce that part of the car. And then you can just do whatever you want with the car. It's not going to hurt it. All right, so that's a look at the suspension installed. I'm going to get the wheels back on. We'll go for a drive, and I'll give you guys some of my feedback of how it feels so far on the street. All right, so out testing the new AST Moton dampers on a canyon road. Just gonna take it easy here a little bit as we warm up the tires. We are in plus R mode with stability all the way off. Kind of get a feel for the car. Feels pretty good. I'd say the road surface is kind of bumpy, but that's also one thing I noticed right off the bat with these new dampers, is you feel absolutely everything. Now the main difference being that the OEM dampers are just way too stiff for the spring rates. Oh, wow. Whoa. Yeah. The car feels absolutely glued to the road. Rotates quite nicely. So the biggest difference I'm feeling right now is that, yes, this is stiff, but control is there. It's only stiff in the sense that I feel everything, but it's not stiff in the sense that I'm jumping around and I can't control it. That is absolutely the biggest takeaway I've got right now. Holy moly, the acceleration out of turns is insane. Yeah, rotation is amazing. Turn-in is amazing. And even on the uneven surface, the car just sticks and goes. As by proof, I've got a stock Type R in front of me that just can't get away. The mechanical grip levels, although not well suited to canyon driving, much better suited for the racetrack, as that's what these coilovers were designed for, still handle this situation quite well. So just in summation, my biggest takeaway from this new suspension in my car is it's exactly what it's designed to be. It's very aggressive for a street setup, and it can be used on the street, and it is a good street dampener. But my sneaking suspicion is that the racetrack is where this suspension will really shine. The AST Moton Doteki Spec Coilover system, it's not for everybody. In fact, I would say it's the best damper money can currently buy for the FL5 Type R and the DE5 Integra for that matter. But it's really a suspension designed to chase tenths of a second on a racetrack and perform pretty darn good on a canyon road. But where it really shines is going to be with stickier compound turning laps. So that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was informative. I will have full pricing information, links to the website for Doteki where you can purchase the suspension for your own FL5 or DE5 Integra Type S. But until next time, stay hungry, stay fast, stay tuned. I'm Michael Baxi and I'm out.
Okay, I've been working like 3 jobs. Probably why I never see ya. Probably why I never have time for the fake friends that won't be ya. Oh God, I've been running now. Up early when the sun is out. Not setting out my own soul, but those real ones, they coming out. Oh look who's reaching out. Old friends wanna feature now. They don't work, so they need it free. Ooh, you reaching out from the west side of that old town.